I'm Mark Muncy, the author of Eerie, Florida and Freaky Florida. For nearly 30 years, I've collected myths, monsters, legends, and more ghost stories than you can imagine. Join me as we journey to some of the spookiest and craziest places on Earth that might just be in your own backyard. Welcome to Eerie Travels. We're here at the Brooksville Raid, it's actually just outside of Brooksville, and it is a wonderful historical reenactment, one of the largest in the South, and they do a huge cavalry charge battle. The cannons go off. It's amazing. People are already lining up. It's not even 9 a.m. and the show isn't until 2, but it's a major battle reenactment. Sadly, the real historical truth is not so much. There was basically a cat and mouse chase with a bunch of troops from Tampa Bay led into Brooksville to burn it down because it was the breadbasket of the South. And then they were going to burn the docks at Brooksville to keep them from feeding the rest of the armies of the South. Instead, what happened was they got a little tired of the swamp and started going out straight to the docks. Now, the Confederates considered it a great victory because the militia came and drove them away from the town. But what happened was they did burn the docks. Nobody really got hurt that badly. One injury was actually friendly fire. And it's just another fun excuse to get up, get dressed, and reenact a great Civil War day. And we're gonna have some root beer. We're gonna talk to some of the reenactors and have a blast. So we'll see you more as we join this Eerie travel. We're here at the Brooksville Raid up actually at the Sand Hill Boy Scout location. And anyway, we're here talking with, what was your name again? Terry. And Terry, what can you tell us about this beautiful cannon here?
Well, this cannon is an original Confederate piece. It's one of two like this that survived the war. It was made in November of 1861 in Rome, Georgia at the Noble Brothers Foundry. It's a 6-pounder, which was usually the lightest gun on the field, and fired 3 types of projectiles we have over here. We can show you if you like.
Well, we'd love to see them.
And they had a range up to about a mile if you had a good tailwind.
That would be, that was very important back then.
Right. The cannon was attached to the limber, which is back here, and the 2 pieces were pulled by 4 to 6 horses during the course of the war, and 4 to 6 of these cannons would make up a battery. The battery consisted of about 140 horses and 125 men. So it was a piece of equipment that really took a lot of care and attention, and more. If you weren't into horses, you weren't in the artillery.
Definitely a logistical nightmare.
Yes,
there, so,
right.
It gives a little perspective on how much it was needed to keep them running and all that.
Sure.
So, and then you guys use your own teams as well now. I mean, it's still quite a endeavor. So.
Oh, yes, it is indeed. And we enjoy it. It's living history. We get to tell people about the War of Northern Aggression. When the Yanks invaded us, we didn't invade them, of course. And the fact that it was fought over economics, as all wars are. The South was producing about 70% of the federal income. And when Lincoln got elected and saw he was going to lose 70% of his income, he said, can't let those people go.
Yeah. So now today, I know there's an artillery demonstration a little later and
yes,
all that.
That's
so
correct.
So we're looking forward to that. And now, so this piece was an authentic Confederate piece. What do you know its history specific?
No, they didn't keep records of serial numbers or the manufacturers. Occasionally, twice during the course of the war, they took an inventory and did make note of some of that, once in Atlanta and once in Corinth, Mississippi. And sometimes you can look up and find your gun in that group.
All right. Wow. All right. So Terry, you've got some ammunition to show us for the cannon
yes,
now. So.
Mark, there are 3 types of projectiles, as I said a moment ago, that are fired by this cannon. And this is a solid shot. The powder charge is in this bag. There's a wooden sabot that straps the cannonball onto.
Right.
And a solid shot would have been used to knock down walls, to stop a wagon train by breaking axles or wheels, or killing the horses that were pulling them. The other type is a exploding shell. A fuse went in the front. It was timed so that it could go off anywhere from 1 to 10 seconds downrange. Again, you had the powder charge behind it, the sabot, the wooden sabot, and was strapped on with these metal straps. And the most dangerous of all, particularly to the infantry, was the canister. Obviously, it looks like a can, but inside of this can, there are iron balls, some 26 of them, and a powder charge on the back. And when it fired, it turned the cannon into a large shotgun.
Yeah.
It would rake down rows and rows of men, go through the first row and out the back and through the next row. Very devastating round.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking to some pirates or reenactors, they were talking about the grape shot.
Yeah.
This is just the enhanced. It got smarter and stronger.
Right.
So
this is the artillery version, land, as opposed to the Navy. Right.
So yeah, which is just devastating. Well, thank you so much for sharing
You're
that
quite
with
welcome.
us. Thank you. So we're here with Dean Adams from the Adams Family Medicine Show, which has been in operation since how long?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Years.
Years.
Many years. And it ebbs and flows like anything else. So when there's we come to Brooksville almost every year. Brooksville is probably our favorite one. So this is the best weather we've had. This is good.
It's nice. It's not too cold,
no
not too hot.
freezing, and it's not hot. Yeah, so
right in the middle. So
Good,
tell us a little bit about your show.
We do an impression of a 19th century traveling medicine show. The idea was that in the 19th century, there was no fixed movie houses. There was no internet. There was no, really the only entertainment was like a saloon, that kind of thing. So if the families wanted to have entertainment, it was whatever they came up with on their own. So when a traveling medicine show would come to town, they had a free show, would attract the people. Then they would have commercials and sell their patent medicine. In our case, we have olive tar. You have to try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You put a dab on your hand. It will put hair on your head if you want it. Take a hair off if you don't. Any liver or lung ailments you may have, the electromagnetic properties of olive tar are simply amazing.
So now I'm going to get hair on my hand.
Yeah, well,
here,
if you need to grow, you need anything you need to do, olive tar will do.
We'll get the beard to flush in there.
This is our modern version. There is an original olive tar, but we couldn't have people ingesting who knows what. So we came up with our own version. It has enough alcohol, so it is actually kind of, pertinent to where they were at the time. They had lots of alcohol content.
Yeah.
They didn't believe in drinking alcohol in public, but if it was in a medicine, it was okay.
It was okay. That's why it was medicinal.
So it was kind of a twofold thing. When the medicine show came to town, they got their medicine and they got a free show. So they would dress up in their finest, it was just like the ball last night. They're dressed up in their finest clothes, bring their chairs, they would sit out, enjoy the show, free show.
And you've got a live mermaid.
In our case, no, it doesn't say live. It
doesn't say live.
Real.
That's right.
It says real. All right. So in our case, in a real traveling medicine show at the time, generally they had like a group. It was a menagerie. There was like anywhere from 6 to 12 people. One would play a banjo, one would sing. Some of them would act out like Shakespearean plays, whatever, that kind of thing. They had an Indian. That's why my daughter's dressed like an Indian. They had Indians. Because a lot of this came supposedly from elixirs that came from Indian medicine. So, it was a whole thing. In our case, we wanted to be able to do a show all day long, spur of the moment. There's one man, one woman walks up, you do the spinning wheel, you draw the crowd. We could do it over and over and over. I say this hundreds of times a day, hundreds of times. So in our collection, we have, in our case for our free show, we have a collection of oddities, curiosities, and atrocities collected from around the world.
Which is fantastic, and
Yes.
I liked your Sasquatch print very much.
We have a casting of Sasquatch footprint. We have a Peruvian mummy from the Andes. We have the Fiji mermaid. The Fiji mermaid was the greatest traveling exhibit in the 19th century. People by the thousands would pay their quarter to see the Fiji mermaid. P.T. Barnum, we have the real one. P.T. Barnum, the one he has is a hoax. Ours is real. But when in history, when the numbers started declining and he was having less and less people come out to see it, he was a master showman. He rented a space in newspapers and wrote an article under a pseudo name saying the Fiji mermaid that P.T. Barnum is currently exhibiting is a hoax. People would be like, no, it's not. They would go back, pay their quarter again to go see it, just to prove to themselves that what they saw the first time, that wasn't. Real. So he got a whole second second win.
He was the master.
Master showman.
But thank you so much for your time, and we hope you have a good show today. Yeah. So we're here at the Brooksville Raid, and we are talking to David Bell.
Old Doc Bell.
Old Doc Bell. So, and now Doc Bell, we had to come try your Wizard's Elixir. Right. So tell us a little bit what you can. I know it's kind of a secret, but you can tell us a little bit.
It's really not a secret. The history of making cream soda actually goes back to England hundreds of years ago. They used to actually call it a vanilla ice cream drink. So vanilla cream soda came from that name. And when they came to the colonies, they used pure vanilla extract that they would ship from the Far East. And back in the day, they used to use honey to sweeten it. And they would carbonate it with dry ice, or not dry ice, but yeast product. But we kind of did a little bit step further than that. We use dry ice to carbonate all our beverages. Now, the dry ice goes all the way back to France in the 1850s. It was actually discovered by accident by a French chemist who was trying to figure out how to make a fire extinguisher. So it's period correct to this time to use dry ice. So all we basically use is filtered water. We use pure vanilla extract, pure cane sugar, mix it all up, put in the barrels back here, and then we'll add about 4 or 5 pounds of dry ice, and that brews it, carbonates it, and keeps it cold all at the same time.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So it's wonderful stuff. Very delicious.
Oh, yeah.
So well, thank you so much for giving us a little tour, and we're going to go have some. So thanks so much. What I've discovered in my travels is that the history behind the story is sometimes far scarier than the fiction. We're now headed to a place filled with mystery, death, and perhaps a doorway to another world. The May Stringer House, one of the most haunted locations in Florida. Located in the center of Brooksville, this home, built in 1856, is possibly the location of at least 6 or 7 spirits, long thought to be the patients of Dr. Stringer, who purchased this house and expanded it to house his work. Shall we go inside? We'll look for Jessie May on the 3rd floor, a young girl who died here, and the notorious Mr. Nasty, known to haunt the attic. But is he as scary as he sounds? We'll find out. Right now we are at the side of the infamous May Stringer House, one of the most haunted locations in Florida. And if you pan over this way, you're going to see some of the graves of the former inhabitants of this once hospital, once clinic, once home. Some say these people have never left. The May Stringer House, home to the Hernando County Historical Society. Exhibit rooms, various themes. If you follow me, they made a replica, Doc Stringer's office. This room is known to have multiple haunted entities. Some of the artifacts here are simply incredible. A lot of paranormal investigators get a lot of activity from the baby incubator Now, what was interesting was the EVP they kept getting in here was the name Murphy. And they were like, what is the name Murphy? And I was like, it's probably Camp Murphy, because a lot of Florida's training was done at Camp Murphy down in down near Port St. Lucie on the other side of the state. So I was like, that would be a name that would have been familiar to every Floridian soldier in World War II. So the second floor up here in the May Stringer house. And yeah, we'll go into Jessie May's room. So Miss Tammy with the Hernando Historical Society, correct? If you want to give us a little information about this room and why it's kind of significant to paranormal investigators.
All right. So this room is the children's room right now. As you can see, it is set up as a children's room, but when it was a four-structure or a four-room house, this was actually the children's room back then. So the master bedroom would have been next to it, and Morena, who is the mother, she would have actually given birth in the children's room. So she actually came down with an infection from childbirth, and she passed away, which very possibly could have been in this room. So her children stayed in here with her, and then Jessie May, who was her daughter, wound up passing away at the age of 3. So that her being a little child and child energy being so strong, it manifests itself throughout everything. And in her mind, she's still a 3-year-old girl.
We came here on an investigation with Memento Mori Paranormal, and they left candies out for her. I guess that's a common thing for the paranormal investigators to try to trigger her. And they got a recording, and it was a child's voice saying, "I'm too tired, I don't want to play."
Aww.
Which was amazing. So we figured she's been tuckered out from so many
Right,
investigations. So so thank you so much for showing this to us. And I know this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got James's room across the hall, if I'm correct. Let's head over there. So this room creeps me out just walking in because of all the dresses. But, so tell us a little bit about James.
Well, this room in particular actually has 2 different stories.
Oh, okay, great.
Because in 1880, Dr. Stringer, who had built the house, this was basically his wife's sanctuary because she wanted to get away from all of his ill patients. So she would have had all of her hobbies in here. And it is said that she was a very strict, stern, religious woman. And a lot of people have felt her presence, kind of like that feeling in this room when they get here. They either get her or they get James, who's a completely different story because he was 1919. That was many years after Dr. Stringer had passed away. He was staying in this room as a guest of the family right after World War I. He was a soldier, and when he went off to war, he had a woman that he was engaged to. He was madly in love with her. Now, he knew that when he came home from the war, he was going to have a wife, he was going to have a family, and he was going to be happy for the rest of his days. Unfortunately, that didn't work. When the war was over, while he was staying here, he found out from someone else that she married another man while he was off at war. Now, I don't know if maybe she thought he was dead, because they didn't have communication like we do now. So she either thought he was gone and she needed to move on, or she just found someone else that she thought was better. But hearing this devastating news, her being his happy thoughts, the woman that was keeping him fighting the whole time, that he was focused on her, and that's what kept him alive, seeing all of this destruction around him. And it was taken away from him. And he felt he had no reason for living anymore. So he went upstairs, and as the local legends go, he took his life by hanging upstairs.
Where we're going to head next. So now we're heading upstairs to the 3rd floor of May Stringer. And from what I've read and what we've researched, this is where he tended to keep patients that were not comfortable with the others.
See that?
Is that a story?
Logistically speaking, I've heard that story myself.
Hmm.
However, when you think about the physics of it,
Yeah.
I don't think what doctor is going to lug bodies up there and then have to carry them down.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that's the case. Most likely that area was used for ventilation.
Yes.
Because of all the windows and it's right by the staircase, it's going to create a cross draft and all that hot air is going to rise. So the
Right.
house would have been nice and cool just because of that.
Yeah.
But
And
that's also, it's
where,
also the perfect spot for a young, heartbroken soldier to end his life.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that that was not a decision he came to immediately.
No, never is.
It's probably something that he struggled over for days, possibly even weeks. You know, he agonized over it, knowing that he has just gone through all these things. People call it PTSD now. They called it shell shock back then, and he's just needing something to cling to. And the one thing that he thought he was going to have to fall back on was ripped away from him. So one day he decided he just could not go on any longer. So he takes the rope in his hand, walks up that staircase, climbs to the top, ties it around the beam, slips around his neck, and just steps right off that ledge.
Scary
Yeah.
tale and a sad story.
Very sad
So,
story. Yes.
now we have another even odder tale behind this door. Nothing to do with the other one. But are we going in? I think we are. So. What's your step here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We have mannequins all over.
What is that? Oh, it's a mannequin.
It's a Halloween prop.
Yes. Because you guys run a pretty awesome haunted house in here.
Oh my God, we do.
I'm excited
we
to
just
come.
started planning for that.
Yes.
And
So,
it's going to be fantastic.
yeah. So,
My favorite part of the year.
so here is the infamous trunk that we had some experiences with on our paranormal hunt. That trunk itself was radiating heat. Now, this is an attic. It is a little warm and humid in Florida, but shouldn't the whole room have been about the same temperature? This should have been room temperature. Instead, super hot. And I see that he's had some offerings, it appears.
We get people up here all the time that will give him little gifts and tokens. We've had a cigar, and last night 2 ladies brought him small bottles of liquor.
Yes.
The common theory is that he was an alcoholic. Unfortunately, we don't know too much about him.
No, there's not much on him. And I know he's, he earned the nasty nickname, Mr. Nasty. But
people have started calling him Mr. Nasty. But because when we have things donated to us, sometimes we don't get the full story.
Right.
Because when you're cleaning out, say, your relatives' sheds, attics, storage units, things have been in your family for generations, but you might not even know it existed. And if nobody passes down that story to you, you can't give it to us. So we have this 1890s actor's trunk that we have no history on, unfortunately. Somebody had posed a theory a couple weeks ago. Well, maybe they donated it to you because they thought it was haunted.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? That's probably true.
there's a possibility.
But when we acquired the trunk, the activity up here increased. This is the most active room in the house, and in my opinion, we've gotten all kinds of activity. A lot of them is just noises, uncomfortable feelings in general. People feel ill in this room.
Yes.
EVPs are very strong. He likes to say nasty things, which is where he gets his name from.
Especially to those that seem to antagonize him.
Absolutely.
And that's why when we were with the group, it was they're very antagonistic. Yeah, they like to be respectful and
exactly.
and all that. And because of that, we didn't receive a lot of activity, but it seemed to be more of a positive feeling in here.
Right.
Nobody got sick. Nobody got attacked. The EVPs were very low, just almost soft. One almost sounded like a speech. And that's why we were like, maybe we did get the actor. But it was interesting. But it is Florida. It is humid. There are some main roads nearby. Sound does carry through these walls. So you have to take everything with a modicum of salt. But with so many witnesses, and you're here a lot.
Yes,
So
I've heard some really interesting EVPs.
Okay.
Just to say that much.
Interesting.
He's not a negative spirit. He's not a demon. I don't lean in that direction at all, but I do believe personalities carry over. If you're a jerk when you're alive, you're going to be a jerk when you're dead. So he's cranky, he's moody, he's sarcastic, and yeah, he is a bit of a prankster. He will pull people's hair. He will let people know that he is around if he feels the need to do so.
So there you go. A little bit of the May Stringer house here in Brooksville. With so many stories to investigate and so many places to go, we have to team up with local experts. We team with local ghost hunters, cryptozoologists, UFO experts, Bigfoot hunters, criminologists, folklorists, and historians. So many unique locations with so many crazy ties to history and a lot of fun on the way. We'll also find great places to eat. So join us for Eerie Travels.